Ted Cruz was speaking at an event Friday, I believe it was, in Texas. He was talking about guns. As you can see, I am indeed suspended from Twitter.
Have Democrats in Washington who the step they immediately go to is we need to take away firearms from law-abiding citizens. Okay, you can clap for that, except for the minor problem that it doesn't work. If the objective is to stop these crimes, gun control is singularly ineffective. If you look across the country, the jurisdictions with the strictest gun control laws, almost without exception, have among the highest murder rates and among the highest crime rates. That when you disarm law-abiding citizens, the law-abiding citizens, by definition, abide the law and give up their weapons. The criminals don't. So, all right, let's talk about that. We had in place, we had in place for 10 years a so-called ban on so-called assault weapons. And the
yes, and it worked.
Studied it because it expired and found that it had zero statistically significant impact on stopping violent crime. If you want to stop crime, let me tell you what.
I would love to see that study.
And I've spent 10 years fighting for this. You target the bad guys. You target the criminals, the felons, the fugitives. You prosecute them. You put them in jail.
FREAKIN, good evening.
And you also enhance security at vulnerable targets. So I've introduced legislation repeatedly, and I'll tell you, 2 weeks ago, I stood on the Senate floor and tried to
listen
pass
closely.
legislation
Listen closely.
that would double the number of police officers in schools. That would fund $15 billion. Okay, look.
You hate to see Ted Cruz get booed. I don't think Texas likes you very much, Raphael.
If you want to have a reasonable conversation, we can. I mean, if you want to yell at each other, we can. But if you actually look at the legislation I introduced, would have spent $10 billion to fund 15,000 new mental health counselors in schools. Because if you look at the troubled young men who commit these horrific crimes, more mental health counselors there could help hopefully stop
Good on you,
them
Tones.
before they commit these horrific acts. I stood up on the Senate floor to pass this legislation. The Democrats objected. Chris Murphy stood up, the leading Democrat for gun control, and objected and said, no, we shouldn't enhance school security. The Democrats' interest...
Night, Lord Locke. Have a good one.
Not taking away firearms from you, from law-abiding citizens. They have zero interest.
Since you won't be here later, let me go ahead and hit you with it. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. Good night, my friend.
And by the way, you ought to watch that debate. I would encourage you, go see. You can go watch it go Google it and watch it. I stood up and laid out, if we want to keep our kids safe, and I desperately want to keep our kids safe, the most effective
Do you, Ted?
is have police officers there to protect them who can intercept a mass murderer before he gets into the school and stop them.
But that hasn't worked. You are the senator of Texas. Do you remember what happened in May? In May of this year in a town called Uvalde. The cops did not stop a shooter. Do you remember what happened in Parkland, Florida? The cops did not stop a shooter. Ted Cruz, learn what you're talking about.
Why didn't it? Okay, you're right. It didn't happen. And why didn't it happen? Because when that lunatic got to the school in Uvalde, there wasn't a police officer on campus. He was able to get in an open back door. He got into the classroom and was murdering kids before the police got there. And if you want to stop him, look, if you have a solution to stop the deranged, evil murderer, I'd love to hear it. My solution is throw him in jail and stop the felons, the fugitives, those with mental illness.
My solution would be keeping guns out of their hands, Ted.
stop them before they commit these crimes. There are some we won't know about beforehand, and the single best step to stop them is have armed officers on campus that can stop them before they kill our kids. But look, instead, you guys can instead sing Kumbaya with them and hope they'll just stop. But what you're proposing doesn't.
That's not what we're saying, and you're misrepresenting what we're proposing, or at least what I'm proposing. By the way, even the Texas Tribune shows that almost 100 Texas school districts have added their own police department since 2017, but not everyone feels safer. This is a whole thing that goes into the statistics that show that they don't make schools safer. Thank you, Texas Tribune. I'm going to link that one in the comments instead of reading it.